Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Metro Board activities of July 23rd, 2026. Before we get going, I'd like to ask Mr. Jamie Johnson, our Chief Safety and Readiness Officer, to provide this morning safety contact.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of the board. 2026 has already been a great year for Metro, supporting a record number of high-profile, large public events. The celebration of America's 250th anniversary continues across the region, with Metro now preparing with federal and local partners for Freedom 250 Grand Prix on August the 22nd to the 23rd. With no board meeting in August, I wanted to share some tips for customers to ensure you are safe and well prepared for this exciting event next month. First of all, do your research before you travel, particularly for our bus customers. Multiple downtown routes will be diverted for multiple weeks before and after the event. Secondly, consider all transit options. Metro stations are well distributed across the downtown area, and so consider which station suits your needs best by looking at the event map. The station that will serve you best may not be the one that you are familiar with. Number three, think about accessibility. For example, if you're using a stroller or mobility device, plan extra time and know ahead of time where escalators and elevators are located. Number four, be savvy on platforms. When boarding trains at busy times, use all available space on platforms. Stand back from the edge and always take the first train traveling in the direction you want to go and change if necessary further down the line. And lastly, take care of yourself. Medical emergencies are our most common type of incident during large events. If you feel unwell, stay at home and have the food, drink, and medication you need for the day. If you have any questions, visit womata.com or call 202-GO-METRO. Thank you.
Go Metro. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Welcome to today's Metro Board activities and to this meeting of the board's executive committee. Since this is our first meeting of the day, I'll ask the Chief Board Affairs Officer to call the roll. Ms. Elson.
Chair McAndrew.
Here.
Vice Chair Alcorn.
Here.
Vice Chair Lowe.
Here.
Director Flowers.
Here.
Director Weber. Here. Director Burns.
Here.
Alternate Director Worth. Here. Director Bedell.
Here.
Mr. Chair, you have quorum.
Wonderful. Our first order of business for the executive committee is to approve the agenda. We have today's agenda in front of us for approval. Are there any objections by members of the committee to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. Now on to approval of the minutes. We have minutes from our last meeting on July 9th. Are there any objections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, we'll consider the minutes approved as presented. We have just one item on today's agenda. The Inspector General will be presenting one report to the committee, an evaluation of Metro's radio and cellular infrastructure replacement project. I'll turn the floor over to Ms. Amarin, our Inspector General, to provide an overview of the reports.
Good morning, Chair McAndrew and members of the board. Pleased to present today the evaluation of WMATA's radio and cellular infrastructure replacement project. I would like to thank Chief Infrastructure Officer Teresa Impasato, Chief Procurement and Innovation Officer Nathan Tash, and their respective teams for the support and collaboration during this evaluation. The objective of this evaluation was to assess how well WMATA manages and oversees the radio and cellular infrastructure replacement project against the new baseline and milestones. The new radio system is essential for WMATA to ensure passenger and operator safety. Our evaluation found significant schedule delays and weaknesses in pricing controls. Specifically, we found the project continues to experience delays and is significantly behind schedule, and that WMATA cannot ensure fair and reasonable pricing on radio contractor change order proposals. OIG identified 4 recommendations to improve project management, oversight, and risk controls. WMATA management concurred with all the findings and recommendations and has already begun to take corrective actions. This concludes my brief overview, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you. We'll open it up to questions. Yes, Dr. Lowe.
Yeah, thanks. When you say that WMATA can't ensure pricing, it makes it sound like just WMATA can't do something. Is this like a authority-specific issue, or is it like an issue with radio as a sector in terms of proprietary industry information?
So this might be a question more for the general manager, as I am only able to answer as to this specific project, as we did not look at other radio or other similarly situated contractors, and we focused only on the contractor under this contract.
Yes.
Okay, I'm happy to make a comment. Generally, I think to the gist of your question, this is what you would find at most places that have large radio systems. There's two main radio kind of manufacturer and providers in the country, Motorola, Harris, and they would consider most of the pricing information proprietary for bidding and other contracts. So this would be, I think, pretty standard language or finding that you would have at police departments or other big public entities that do radio. I think I do appreciate the OIG. I think did a really good report here and acknowledge the team. It's not. I don't think it's a lack of WMATA trying to do price reasonability. It's just with that particular type of vendor, both that's how they do business, and whether we like it or not. And then other tech firms have similar types of veins of a proprietary aspect. So we are constantly trying to figure out how to compare ourselves to others, do independent cost estimates and reasonability aspects about price controls. And one of the things we do well here at WMATA is having the OIG do that secondary or independent look on price controls, and that sometimes helps with the vendors and sometimes helps with Metro with the vendors. So I think we're doing all the tools available in the WMATA tool chest on this topic and kind of topics around technology.
And Dr. Lowe, consistent with your question, though, we do feel that based on our second finding, we can do this cost price reasonableness analysis.
Great, thank you.
Hearing no other questions from colleagues, I'll just say,
Mr. Chairman, I was just going to say, the
Director
only other
Flowers.
thing that I think it was also, the general manager made a good point, and I think it's helpful in this setting to talk about the things that also WMATA has done to help itself, right? And some of the things that Teresa's team has done, right, and kind of layering other devices. I think Dr. Lowe talked about is that maybe the frustration that we as a customer might be feeling with the vendors in this setup of these things. So, Michelle, can you talk about that? Or I don't know if actually maybe a more appropriate thing for Randy to talk about in this setting about the things that we've done to also enable ourselves on other types of devices that we've used to, kind of essentially not work around, but manage the reality of based upon the maybe the frustrations that we might feel with the kind of the status of the vendor community for this type of types of contract.
Well, so let me ask for a little clarification on your question. Are you asking for other devices similar to the radios, or?
No, it just talk about the bit where we have now, I think where we piloted this element on with MTPD, right, where we have the ability to have devices that can transmit over radio and cellular networks, right, and how that was been a positive use case for Metro.
That is my understanding, that we have moved forward in modernizing many of our equipment and that there are still purchases that are going forward. And I do understand that the project is on track to finish within the 2027 timeframe that is currently listed in our report. Again, as to the details of that modernization, we looked specifically at this contract and the pricing and costs associated with this contract. So I can't speak beyond that or to the purchase of the equipment, but it is my understanding that that is moving forward at this time.
Do you have anything more to
I
add?
can just quickly on that is the team has made a lot of progress on the radio system. We do have new technology where we can use radio via phone, and we're doing that a lot on the police side. Teresa and her team have done a really good job. All the public safety network is cut over, and working with our partners at Fire Police around the region. We are cutting over the red line, ideally here in the next week or two, and all of our yards except one have now been cut over. So over every day, we're making more and more progress on resolving problem spots on the, just a really old radio system that has been being cut over. So progress being made.
Exactly, and I think that was the point that I wanted to emphasize is that notwithstanding the challenges in the findings in Michelle's good work, right, is that the authority has done good self-help in saying, hey, what are the other things that we can do to, make progress, which is, commendable, despite the frustrations that we might feel with
I would
the
agree with that.
duopoly of options that we face.
I'll say a few words and then we'll wrap up. But to you and your team, it's another great evaluation,
Thank you.
right? If you read this, it is a very comprehensive, I wouldn't say easy to read in many dimensions, but easy for me to read and understand what's going on. So hats off to the unit and to the team that did it. To our WMATA colleagues, I think it also shows growth, right? Both when we let the contract in 2016, I think there were challenges in our procurement operation. I think we are getting better by the day. I think that there is growth both in terms of how we are managing certain aspects within this space. We're certainly going to need to continue to grow as we move into future-based signaling operations to make sure that what we are seeing here doesn't bleed into challenges that could be facing us there. But I think going back full circle, I'm very frustrated by the contractor and the challenges that continue to exist. And when you think about one of the main reasons and drivers for this project is not because of somebody's want or need, but because it stems from challenges that we had from the fatality and signaling and communications at L'Enfant years ago. And so we're still sitting here a decade on from procurement of that contract, not yet fully realizing the full benefit of what we were after when we were doing it. It's not anybody's one single fault, but I think we need to have partners on the other side that are rowing in the same direction with us to deliver the results. So it's not your task, but I appreciate you and your team doing a great evaluation for us here. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
With no further business to come before the committee, we stand adjourned. I'll now turn the floor over to Director Burns to begin with the Finance and Capital Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Welcome to this morning's Finance and Capital Committee meeting. I'm Kate Burns, the committee's new vice chair. I'll be running the committee in Director Santos's absence, while alternate Director Worth is filling in for her. I'm also joined by Directors McAndrew and Flowers to round out the committee. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda. I'd like to move to approve the agenda as presented. Are there any objections by members of the committee to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. Now to the approval of minutes. We have the minutes of our July 9th meeting before us for approval. Are there any objections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, we'll consider the minutes approved as presented. This morning, we have two items on our agenda. First, staff is asking for the committee's concurrence on several procurement actions, one new contract award, two sole source awards, and two contract modifications. Next, after that, we'll be hearing an update on one of Metro's most significant capital projects that under development, the rail modernization program. We'll hear the results and recommendations from the peer review of the project conducted by the American Public Transportation Association, or APTA, including hearing from some of the panelists. We'll also see concept designs for the platform door element of the program. I will turn the floor over to Mr. Tash, who is both Chief Procurement Officer and Acting CFO this week, to start us off. Mr. Tash.
Not on. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. It's my pleasure to bring to you today's procurement activity concurrence package. Today's procurement activities all support the service excellence goal and Metro's strategic transformation plan. As you are aware, the thresholds established on November 20th, 2025 require three main categories of procurement to come before the committee for concurrence. As you mentioned, we have 5 actions to come before the committee. We have one new procurement valued at greater than $15 million, 2 sole source awards for contracts valued at more than $500,000, and as you mentioned, 2 cumulative modifications over $1 million or 10% of the award. Here are the details in today's package. A new award to replace obsolete AC power equipment at 3 power stations and replace 14 emergency generators. This procurement was competitive with multiple proposals received. A cost technical trade-off was conducted. The award amount is $53 million and the period of performance is just over 3 years. We also propose a sole source to BBM for a railcar truck tramming table. The award amount is $1.6 million and delivery is expected in 9 to 12 months following award. Another sole source to Cummins for OEM engine track system rehab kits to support midlife rehab program for the new Flyer compressed natural gas buses. Delivery, the initial delivery of 16 is expected in December of this year, and a total of 91 kits. A contract modification for 1 additional year of, of service by Jones Lang LaSalle for the operation and maintenance of our headquarters buildings. During this year, we will engage expertise to ensure the follow-on competition is based on current best practices and holistically considers the full scope of our requirements. The cost is $14.5 million. And finally, a contract modification with Clark Construction for lead abatement within the admin building at the Northern Bus Garage. The initial award was a CMAR type delivery with significant increases as the building proceeded through its life cycle. The current contract value is $635 million, and this modification is for $356,000. Madam Vice Chair, these are the 5 procurements before the committee this morning. Staff recommends Finance and Capital Committee concurrence pursuant to Board Motion 2025-01 for the contracts and modification included in this package.
Great, thank you, Mr. Tash. Are there any questions from committee members? Yes, Chair McAndrew.
Not so much a question, just a quick comment, and we haven't acknowledged this, I think, since we started this exercise in January, but just wanted to commend the team and look forward to the update this fall that we're going to get on the procurement modernization. But both the C3M Power Systems and the Clark Mod, which ultimately was years ago, both of them have sizable SBE and DBE targets in the program, and I know we have an emerging DBE and MBE program here at WMATA. I look forward to continuing to see good progress within this space. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair. Any other questions from the committee? Any questions from other colleagues on the board? All right, unless there's additional discussion, I will ask Ms. Ellison to call the vote. Thank you. I would like to move for approval. Can I get a second from a committee member, please? Thank you, Chair McAndrew. All right, Ms. Ellison, I will turn it over for a vote.
Alternate Director Worth,
Aye.
Vice Chair Burns,
Aye.
Director McAndrew.
Aye.
Director Flowers.
Aye.
Madam Chair, the motion passed.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I would like to turn the floor over now to Mr. Off and Ms. Cesari to introduce our APTA peer review member guests who have joined us this morning.
Yeah, Mr. Rasmussen and Mr. Okafonsi, if you could turn on your mics and cameras.
No, good morning, Vice Chair Burns and members of the board. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think, we do a lot of presentations, but, our team is specifically excited about this presentation, not only given the material and the content, but also the fact that we have international visitors dialing in this morning. Friend Lincoln from London Underground, Matthias from Copenhagen Metro, and we also have Mr. Brian Alberts joining us from APTA, along with myself and Jill, to talk through the latest updates on the rail modernization program. And I will be turning it over to Ms. Cesari. Jill.
Good morning, Jill Cesari. And this morning, we're excited to talk about the Red Line rail modernization effort. Metro has a unique opportunity that really touches upon all 3 aspects of our excellent service, talented teams, financial and organizational efficiency of how we bring rail modernization to the Metro is key going forward, and it's a part of all of the work that we're currently doing. So the rail modernization effort, we've been working with APTA. We conducted a review of our project and where we were going, and APTA provided a great opportunity to bring in outside eyes and learn from others, and also have them review our plan and give us feedback if we were on the right track, which you'll see that we have many validations, and many of the efforts that they were recommending are already in progress. Also this morning, we'll talk about the platform door concept design and where we are in that effort. Okay, the peer review report, I'm going to kick it off, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Brian, who is representing APTA this morning, and then we'll also be including our overseas agency representatives. So Metro is a continuous learning organization. We're always looking at other peer agencies to see best of ideas, learn from them, and incorporate what they're doing to the best of our ability into how we operate. There's also a lot of experience here at Metro, and many of those professionals here have been also aiding in our plan development as we go forward with modernizing the Red Line. And so over the last 3 years, we've been reaching out to New York, as well as San Francisco, as well as the community of metros, to see how they've been incorporating rail modernization into their efforts, and base our plans on many of their lessons learned. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Alberts.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Brian Alberts. I'm our Senior Director of Safety and Advisory Services at APTA. I lead the APTA peer review program, and the peer review is a well-established and industry-accepted program. We bring subject matter experts together to provide observations and recommendations from other transit agencies, both domestically and internationally, and then bring them to your property to give some good observations, recommendations on a certain topic. So in January 2026, CEO and GM Randy Clark requested Metro to have APTA conduct a review of the planning process and efforts of the Red Line Modernization Project, and it was focused on the 4 areas of program planning, technical development, mitigation strategy assessment, and governance and program management. The APTA peer review program enabled Metro to provide feedback and lessons learned from agencies that have completed or in progress of rail modernization initiatives. So on the next slide, we'll see a map of some of the agencies that we actually hired to come here. These are all the agencies that have been using GOA4 or GOA3 lines, either in development or currently have them on their systems. So we decided in this one to focus on Madrid, London, Copenhagen, and Honolulu. So Honolulu is currently the only agency that is the only urban agency that actually has GOA4 currently in what they do in the United States. And then we also chose the other 3 agencies from throughout Europe. Next slide, please. So you'll see here, as I mentioned, HART, Honolulu Authority for Rapid Transportation. We had Mr. Vance Tsuda come. They are the only urban agency in the United States that fully operates GOA4. We also decided to bring in Copenhagen Metro. So we have Mr. Matthias Seville Rasmussen on the line, and he'll introduce himself in just a moment. They have a fully operated automated system at GOA4, so that we thought they would be a great one to bring. We also hired London Underground to come. They primarily operate under GOA2 and 3 under automation, and Mr. Lincoln Ofokanzi is here from TfL to talk about their system. And then finally, we had 2 gentlemen come from Metro de Madrid, Carlos Esquiras and Mr. Santiago Rincon Aravello. We thought they would be a great one to have come here to Metro because they're actually currently in transitioning to GOA4. They hope to do so by July, so about a year from now in July of 2027. And they're a brownfield system similar to Metro. So we thought they would be able to provide some really good recommendations to the system here as well. So with that, I'm now going to hand it over to the two gentlemen, Mr. Lincoln Opokanzi and Mr. Matthias Sabel Rasmussen, to provide you all with some validations, observations, and recommendations when they came here to do the project from April 26th to May 1st of this year. Next slide.
Matthias,
Great,
if you can, I was just going to say, Matthias, if you can introduce yourself, and then we'll turn it over to Lincoln.
Yes, okay, I will. So hi everyone, and nice to see and meet all of you, the board members especially. So I'd like then to introduce myself just briefly. I have around 15 years experience with fully automated railway in Copenhagen. I did lead our resignaling efforts on our two first lines, M1 and M2, for several years, also through the early phases and several board decisions. Then a couple of years ago, I took over for our that's a greenfield project, that's the M5 line coming up, where we just now actually have a pre-qualification going on for the entire transportation system, and that's the part that I'm heading. I'm a member of UATP, that is the International Transport Association, which is a similar organization to APTA. I'm a member of the automated metros and signaling platforms there. Yes.
Right. Yep, thank you. Hello, my name is Lincoln Opokanzi. I'm Head of Signalling and Communications in London Underground, which is part of Transport for London. I have over 40 years experience, the last 30 years in project delivery. I've introduced a number of signalling upgrades, including the Jubilee Line, Victoria Line upgrade, which took us to 36 trains per hour. And currently I'm leading on the Central Line signalling upgrade. And that's our first upgrade of an existing digital signalling system to a new signalling system in terms of digital. I was also responsible for delivering a number of major station upgrades programs. Okay, so I'll move on to my observations. So, Chair and the board, on behalf of London Underground, I'd like to thank Metro for their openness and collaboration shown during our peer review of the modernisation programme. Overall, our assessment is positive. Our review found that Metro has established many of the right foundations for successfully delivering this modernisation programme. The decision to begin with the Red Line is strategically sound. We also support the long-term vision of targeting GOA4 automatisation and the use of performance-based procurement to encourage innovation and deliver whole life value. The programme will need an integrated delivery strategy. In particular, the concept of operations will be critical for connecting operational and maintenance requirements with customer experience and future automation ambitions. When we started our upgrade delivery, this was an area that we were not particularly strong on, but we have now a team in place that's dedicated to operational and maintenance readiness, and this is led by a director. The front-end planning is going to be essential. Early and structured supplier engagement will help inform system requirements, improve affordability, and reduced delivery risk. Similarly, space planning is really important. You'll need to have a process for securing the space that you're going to need for the future equipment that you're going to be installing in terms of rooms. The key decision still to be made is the approach for the number of stations that you will fit platform screen jaws. You need to consider what mitigation and arrangements you will put in place if you don't install on some of the stations, and what the whole life cost and additional risk will be, if so, in terms of a comparison. The program will need to develop a strategy for managing service outage during delivery. You should work with the supply chain to try and maximize offsite testing and proving. This is a key concept that we're currently working towards, as we have a number of signaling upgrades still ongoing on London Underground. In summary, we found the program is taking many of the right steps to manage risk, build capability, and prepare for delivery. The next stage should include focusing on developing the operational concept, the migration strategy, and you should also engage the supply chain in this to get their early support. So I'll now hand over to Matthias.
Thank you, Lincoln. I think I'd also like to start with thanking for the opportunity to participate in this peer review, and maybe also stress the general comment that we have. I think it's very early in the report also that in general everything looks okay as they should be at the current stage of the project. So that's all good. I'll then touch upon a few of the validations and recommendations that you see here on the slide. One thing that we had good discussions with the project was about the independent safety assessor, the ISA, and to use that approach. And it's an approach that we use for sure in Copenhagen and many other places where you have an independent body that's assessing the safety case, and the safety case is being built by the supplier together with the safety team of your organization. And then at the end of the day, it makes it that they deliver that safety case that has been independently assessed. They bring that to the authorities, and it's a smoother process in our opinion. So it helps, especially also in a situation where it's a first time for a driverless railway. And another point regarding reliability, when you are about to embark on driverless railway adventures, then you'd see that any failure is hitting quite harder because you do not have the driver to take immediate actions. You have probably some staff nearby, but a driver is not in the train. That means that everything you can do to further optimize reliability of trains and other assets is really helpful. And we, from talking to people in your organization, it seems that also you are aware of this, but it's just one of the recommendations to keep an eye out for this reliability, because the impact is just harder in a driverless railway. Then on test track and also fleet retrofit site capacity. So in my and in the panel's view, as much as you can do to remove constraints, you should do. So what I mean is that the constraints that should be left should be the disruptions to revenue service, and it should also be the fleet availability. These are the difficult ones. But for instance, a new test track, extensions of workshop, things like that. That's things that we decided to actually build in Copenhagen in order to make sure that these were not constraining project progress. We are not into the details whether it's necessary or not for WMATA to do or not, but just to give some example of those constraints that you'd be happy to remove prior to or during the project execution. Yes, I think that was the points that I wanted to highlight here from this slide.
Thank you. All of the recommendations that were made throughout this review have either been addressed or are in progress or are planned for future activities as we continue to mature the plan and the program. And so earlier this year, we had finalized the initial concept of operations. It is a very early concept of operations. It continues to be matured as the program continues to mature. In March, we held an industry day in which we engaged many of the suppliers. There is significant interest in this project, and we are in ongoing discussions with them as we continue to work toward awarding contracts. And then we've also engaged our rail car industry partners on the 7K and the 8K cars, and we're continuing to do assessments, surveys, and preparing for those future retrofitting contracts. We're also looking at the safety assessor. That's a critical part of this process, and so we are maturing that procurement plan as well. At this time, before we move to the next subject, while we have our peers here, I would like to open it to questions or comments.
Are there any questions from the board for our guests, which I also want to take the opportunity on behalf of the board to thank you both for joining us today. We sincerely appreciate your participation and the opportunity to ask questions. Thank you so much. On that note, do any of my colleagues have questions for our guests? Yes, Dr. Lowe.
Hearing that all of the recommendations from the peer review are going to be addressed, does that mean that we're going to do the cost benefit analysis of doing the screen doors on all the platforms?
Yes, that is a topic that is very much in discussion, and we are putting a plan together to make that assessment with some level of accuracy. Currently in the project, there's 20 of 27 stations in scope, and so we are at the early stages of putting together a business case of what would it cost to add the other 7, and then also what will be the costs of operating with 7 stations outside of that scope.
And to also identify the benefits, because so one thing that stood out to me from the full report was the note in the text around this recommendation that specifically there might be financial benefits to the overall that would accrue through being able to change the overall concept of operations even more if there were PSDs on every platform. And I want to ask about that because the process at Metro for deciding to automate the red line and do these PSDs, like, it's painful because it costs a lot of money and everything is instead of something else. So, we're making this investment in signaling on the rail side, but it's instead of, for now at least, like modernizing a bus garage that like super needs to be modernized. And I'm not questioning that trade-off. Like, I voted for the capital plan that this is in. I'm just saying that, like, as we think about, for example, doing more PSDs than are currently in the capital plan, the cost to do that is instead of something else, unless there are full life cycle benefits that also feed back into WMATA, either on the operating or the capital side, and like kind of holistically allow us to advance all the priorities that we want to advance. So this can be a question for our peer experts. It can be a question for Randy. Like, but my question is, like, does it sound like I'm starting to wrap my head around this the right way? And how should we understand, like, some of the recommendations in this report that are like spend more though, like longer test track, like bigger rail yard, like all of those things are going to cost more money.
I'll take a track at that. So one, I think, as totally up to the board of questions, the more we can direct questions onto the specific recommendations for our 2 panelists, I think would be really helpful for their expertise. This one is larger, more of a policy, overall capital planning conversation in Metro. So we committed in the capital plan this year to do that analysis anyway. So now that Jill's standing up kind of the program office, that'll be happening. And when we come back, we'll have a very detailed benefit cost analysis. 1, full cycle cost analysis. 2, safety. 3, impact to installation and maintenance, all of those factors. Supply chain. Obviously, this whole supply chain is going to kind of get stood up a little bit. We're going to do more PSDs than anyone's in the country. So I think what I would maybe recommend is stuff that is more policy capital planning. We could follow up in more detail on that because we're in the first pitch of the first inning, and we are committed to that work, and that work's going to happen and come back in a very open and transparent conversations, and the board will make those decisions through the capital planning process. Versus if there's stuff on the recommendations that are specific to the program development and specifically execution on lessons learned from our very distinguished panelists. I guess that's how I would try to separate it.
That's kind of what I'm looking to get at, and what I would love to hear from the panelists. Like, they're the ones who have experience with the transition to a higher level of automation, and if they could speak to a little bit like what the benefits might be financially in terms of like what should we be thinking of as we, because one of their other recommendations was to mature the concept of operations. And so like if they could just kind of give me a flavor of like the super fun savings I might hear about, it like helps me emotionally get bought in.
Yeah, Lincoln, okay, maybe I'll make a.
You want to make start
first,
and then I'll come in after, yeah?
Yeah, okay. So so in Copenhagen on our original driverless systems, we first had a mix of PSDs and a detection system. After a few years, we decided to scrape the detection system and install PSDs also on those stations that had them. Okay, you can say also that was quite an early technology, but it had several drawbacks. So we were actually impacting operations severely. So it's something like 20% of our missed departures were due to that. We saw it was false alarms from that detection system, and that is maybe one of the things that we put in the report also as a recommendation is that yes, we fully support to do a cost-benefit analysis of doing all stations. And also one point is that, okay, it's not that if you take, I can't remember if it's 6 or 7 stations that you take out, but if you take them out, it's not the full price of those that you save, because you also have to price in on the or cost in that you have to pay for a detection system, and you have to price in that you have to the added complexity of the overall system and the signaling that you then have to buy. And then there are also, of course, there are several benefits of the PSDs. I mean, you're looking at a prevention method, you're looking at prevention of suicides and accidental falls onto the tracks. That said, of course, I know that they are very costly, and also that some places they choose to do without. So we fully just support to do a cost-benefit analysis, and then remember to bring in also the cost of having, in reality, 2 different systems to protect the tracks.
Okay, now I'll just come in. So on London Underground, we have the Elizabeth line that's got platform screen doors fitted on a number of the stations, and also on the Jubilee line as well. In terms of those stations where they are fitted, obviously you have a greatly improved platform train interface, so you don't have trespasses on the track, and you have a totally safe platform environment, which has got benefits, particularly from the safety perspective, and also where you get delays to service, where you do have trespasses or people falling on the track. In terms of GOA4 operation, in most metros across the world, they do have platform screen doors to ensure that you've got that protected environment whilst you're operating in an automated way. If you didn't go for platform screen doors, you would have to identify another method of obstacle and people detection. So there does need to be that analysis that's done. So even if you didn't have platform screen doors, there would have to be some expenditure in regards to what you would put in place of them.
Great.
Thank you. That was so helpful.
Thank you. One moment, Director Flowers. I'll turn over to Director Alcorn.
Yeah, thank you very much. And first of all, I do want to thank the panelists for your peer review. You did an excellent job. This is super helpful, I know, for everybody associated with WMATA. And also thank you for your emphasis and an affirmation of the value of an independent safety assessor. That certainly is very helpful as we get started on this. I think, and also for really also noting the importance of monitoring and managing impacts on workforce and additional training and reskilling that's going to be important there. I do want to get back to some of the safety, a couple of safety-related issues. One is on the platform screen doors, one of the recommendations related to, well, I guess the idea is even with platform screen doors from time to time, there will be somebody who could get in there and the need for control systems for potential intrusions. And my question is, have you seen that? Have you experienced that in your systems? Or I'm sure the numbers are way down for, for not having platform screen doors, but I'm curious if you are still seeing any intrusions.
I'll answer that first from London Underground's perspective. As far as I'm aware, certainly in regards to where we've got platform screen doors fitted on Jubilee Line and on Elizabeth Line, we've not had any intrusions. You do have some failure scenarios where you may have to isolate a door in an open position, but then you have procedures in place where you have a person standing by that opening. The track access doors are secured and they're alarmed as well. And they quite rarely fail in terms of the systems that we've got in place. So now to answer it from a London Underground perspective, I'm not aware of any intrusions at those stations that we've got platform screen doors. Transversely, we have quite a number of intrusions, trespass on track, people that get onto the track, people that jump onto the track as well. So we call them one-unders. We have a number of those, and we're actually looking at systems that will detect passengers or obstacles on the track without platform screen doors. We also have done a feasibility study on the central line as well in regards to fitting platform screen doors.
Wonderful.
Yes, and in Copenhagen, okay, yes, we do not completely remove intrusions, but of course we limit it with the platform screen doors. We have alarms on every door that leads into the system. That's part of the concept for safety for the driverless railway, that we have a full segregation. So when we have people on the tracks, it's mostly vandalism that people are trying to get into the railway, and there are okay, we have fences and we have doors, but of course, if you really want to get into the tracks, then it's possible on some locations.
Got it. That's super helpful. And I've actually been on the Elizabeth Line and on the Copenhagen system in the last year or so. Excellent. That very much affirms sort of my personal observation. So thank you for that. My only other quick question is it's actually not a safety question, but it does relate to platform screen doors and weather. So for the outdoor stations, is something that you had recommended be evaluated and considered. And I'm just curious of any additional insight you can provide in terms of weather impacts on outdoor platform screen doors.
I'll go first on this one because on the London Underground, we don't have any platforms that have outside platform screen doors. So that was just one of our observations. You will need to consider it for Washington because you've obviously got a number of stations that are outside. So that was one of the things that we picked up because obviously the internal conditions are quite different from those external, and you want your platform screen doors to be reliable because they've obviously become a key interface in regards to the platform to train.
Yes, and for us also, we have most of our PSDs are underground, but we do have a few that's above ground, and these are I think the recommendation is just to keep an eye out because they are more tricky. I mean, there is wind effort. There is also weather. We have some that are near the sea, so we have to. Corrosion is an issue. I know that you also sometimes have ice and snow in Washington. That could also be something we on some of our above ground PSDs we saw rainwater being blown underneath them, and then they did an ice layer on the platform, which had passengers falling. So they're just a little bit more tricky. There's some consideration that you'd have to do, and it could be that they would have to be designed differently than the underground
Very good.
PSDs.
Very good. That's very helpful. Thank you both.
Great, thank you. I'll go next to Director Flowers, Chair McAndrew, and then Director Weber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lincoln Matthias, thank you so much again for being here with us. I, like my colleague, Director Alcorn, have leveraged and been a customer on both of these systems, and I can attest to the seeing firsthand the added customer safety benefits, right? Overall safety benefits to the systems, but also the customer experience benefits, which I think can't be diminished when in kind of deploying this kind of technology. I had two questions. One is operational, one is actually procurement related on your experiences with both of your systems. In your report, you talk about, while you affirm the kind of contractor management at risk model, you talk about how that there might be risks when dealing with kind of international vendors as it relates to this kind of project that we might be undertaking. I would assume that other industrialized democracies like the United States have kind of domestic content requirements. When you all were navigating the procurements for your systems, how did you all navigate the maybe any kind of domestic procurement or domestic content requirements that you have vis-a-vis then your desire to kind of install these technologies? And then also the bit around when you note about software-centric long-term tail as it relates to the procurements. When you, for CBTC specifically software, how have you all in your systems managed those kind of long tail and kind of beyond really capital in construction phase activities?
All right, I'll go first. So in regards to the systems that we've got in place within London Underground, there's two main signalling suppliers, Siemens and Hitachi. When we started off in procurement, we done the early supplier engagement. In terms of the longer term tail, that's one thing that I'd say that does need to be considered. But when you introduce these systems, you go into a long-term relationship with the supplier. Once they are introduced, you then have to manage future obsolescence. And so there is a need to maintain that overall long-term relationship. And it's something that does need to be thought about in the early procurement. So you can consider that for the future because of the way that these systems are developed and deployed, you can't go to another supplier after. So there is a need to have that long-term plan, and even in the early procurement for delivering the system, you do need to think about the next stages and that longer-term relationship. And that's something that we're still working on now. Matthias?
Yeah, I can fully support what Lincoln is saying. So we're doing a lot of supply engagement on the signaling side. They are so few, and they are also some of them quite busy. So it's a bit of work also to just to make sure that they are the right fit for your project, and also the other way around, that the project is the right fit for their for their setup. So there's a lot of benefit in talking with the suppliers very early and throughout the project up until procurement rules would prevent that. So I think I understood also a question about domestic something with
Yes,
that
exactly.
there
Domestic,
could be
like,
some.
domestic content requirements. So Lincoln, did you have a buy British requirement, or Matthias, did you have a buy Danish requirement? That you have this, we have these certain federal laws, right, that we have to navigate here in the United States. And to the extent that you all had these, domestic content requirements, how did you navigate them when you talk about this, again, this duopoly of really what our vendors that we're gonna face? It's obviously something that we'll just have to navigate, and that obviously the authority is capable of managing and navigating, but would welcome your best practices that you've all learned in navigating those things.
Yeah. But I think for us and I mean we wouldn't find anything regarding communication-based train control signaling suppliers in Denmark, and so we cannot look domestically. So I think we are. What if we should have some of these? I'm not fully aware of those procurement details. If we'd have something, we would be exempted. I'm quite sure because of the limited numbers of suppliers.
Yeah, and we're similar. We haven't got those types of domestic constraints, but as Matthias is saying, that in terms of signalling suppliers across the world, they are very limited in terms of those that have got the capability and experience of delivering these types of systems. They're very far and few between. So that does need to be considered as part of your procurement, making sure you get a supplier that has got the experience of delivering these types of systems.
Thank you so much, Matthias. My last question that will be very brief is you talked about fault intervention. Can you walk through how faults are intervened on your vehicles right now? Is it through a control system perspective, right? Because you have this full GAO4 integration, or is it that you have staff on there who could be on the vehicle to then go into the operator's cab and then intervene with faults? What are the best practices that you've learned?
Yeah, I'll say it depends. So it depends on the failure. The first, I mean, let's say there's a train stranded between two stations. To take an example, that the first the control room would try to do is to, and there's no staff on board, there's no driver, and there's none of our roaming staff. Sometimes our roaming staff would, by coincidence, be present on the train. Of course, then that's a different situation. But let's assume no one is there. Then they'll try to, whatever they can do with diagnostics from the train to the control room, try to restart the train. That would be the fastest. If it's not possible, they'll have to bring a member of the staff there, and that will be what we call stewards. That is roaming staff. That is quite a diverse role, because they will have to do customer interactions, but they will also have to do light maintenance, and they will have to be able to drive a train. So then the next step is to try to get one of them to the stranded train and to start moving the train. If that's not possible, then a technician on call would have to arrive. But the faster, of course, you can solve it, the better for operations. So another example would be a blocked PSD. Then there's you try to recycle or try to open and close the PSD from the control room. Sometimes we can also do a light speaker call to ask a passenger to give it a light push if that's needed. But in general, they try to do as much as they can from the control room. So you can probably see that they try to do the quick fix, and then if it's not possible, then it escalates throughout the chain of possible interventions.
Hey, well, wonderful. Thank you, Madam Chair. And, listen, we both appreciate both of you gentlemen for your guidance and expertise here.
Thank you, Chair McAndrew.
I'll echo and say thank you also to Brian as well for your leadership on this front. So a couple of quick items. Vehicle reliability target was in here. And I would say for the audience, we have some of the best running trains that we've had in some time. And clearly they're not yet good enough. So my question to you all is maybe what would be an ideal target for vehicle reliability in a GAO4 automated system?
So we don't currently operate in GOA 4, but that was certainly from the discussions we had during the peer review, moving to GOA 4, where you actually haven't got a person on the train. You do need that enhanced level of reliability. So that does need to be looked at and a program put in place to get to that level of reliability, because you want to be able to avoid the scenario that Matthias has just run through in regards to having any issues out there in regards to trains and their reliability.
Yeah, I think it's so. I don't think either I can give you a good number for that. I think it would be a backwards calculation that I mean you'd start to look at, okay, how few disruptions to service do you want to have? Then you'd look at, okay, how many of these disruptions are coming from the fleet, from the trains, and then you'd have to look, okay, if I want to minimize that contribution, how high should my reliability target be? And that you'd be constantly chasing around different reliability issues until you hit the spot where you have where you can deliver the service you want to the passengers. Of course, then it would be a balance against cost again. But yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Sorry not to give a direct answer to the way.
Maybe I'll ask it a slightly different way. Are both of your kind of fleets on the lines moving towards automation or currently automated exceeding a 73% reliability rate?
I would go on, Matthias.
No, I'll just say sorry that I do not have that number present, but I mean we can check up and come back maybe to Brian on that if we have some numbers that could help you maybe as a guidance first.
Yeah, and similarly, we have got all the various lines, and we've got the reliability stats on all of those lines. We're not actually operating in GOA 4, but we've got a continuous drive to try and improve reliability. So I'm happy to get that information and share what our reliability stats are for each line on London Underground.
And I'll have the GM say a few words here in a second. I think we also have a continuous drive to do better, and I don't want to, my line of questioning isn't necessarily to say we aren't. I think it's trying to figure out what the benchmark might be in that work back scheme.
Yeah, Chair, you're hitting the nail on the head. When we're in after full acceptance and we're into full level 4 automation on Redline, we're talking like 99.5%. So I think Matthias, is saying it, maybe I'll use the language, which is build backwards from what is our entire overall line reliability, and then what's the reliability of the components needed to get to that overall reliability. And the components are going to be the vehicles, obviously the fleet, but our CBTC system and the platform screen doors, and then a few other things. But those are the 3 big ones. But we need to continue to get to a higher level of reliability. And what the team is working on, and I appreciate you mentioning this, is as we digitalize everything that we're doing here, that we're doing this kind of irrespective of this program, but the program will benefit from. So Jill is building on top of the things Teresa or Leroy are working on things like telematics, kind of some of our AI data sets. And as we keep doing that, and we've seen pretty significant reliability increase over the last couple of years, we want to get to a point where a door failure on a vehicle is so little that then that vehicle wouldn't have to be taken out of service or a car isolated. And then the platform screen doors, even at the best systems, from once in a while we'll have a platform screen door issue, but then that's minimized. And then, the CBTC itself is very minimized. And so like the issues we've had this week in our red line almost exclusively would not have happened under any of this because it's old antiquated signaling equipment that wouldn't even exist with CBTC. So your point is 100%, and we have a lot of work to do that is kind of complementary or adjacent to this program to make this program work. And part of the kind of implementation plan, we're far from this yet, might be that even after the system is up and running, we may need staff attendants or operators for a year, 2 years, until we get to the reliability number that we have the confidence level of, or the threshold of risk, to then slowly remove them and have more risk tolerance of that. And I think that's the kind of, we're not going to have, there's no button on this program where it's like February 5th, we hit a button and there's no staff. We have an enormous amount of staff on the system already, but right now we have car maintainers, we have train operators, we have supervisors, and we need to work through a staffing model that is complementary to the risk of reliability. And I hope that answers that. But I love how you pointed out, that is where our head is, of full system infrastructure and fleet to the highest level of reliability and the best in the system. Because I bet you Mateus' system runs probably somewhere around a 99 to 99.8% reliability on a normal basis.
Thank you.
Not that yours doesn't too, Lincoln. You have a great system too.
We can aspire. So just a question on the technical room space, and I wasn't fully grasping this. So it said that we might need to identify and secure space for this rail mod project based on the limited space found in the current technical rooms. Can you kind of elaborate on that, just so we can kind of understand what we have or what we're working with here? Because I think we have assumed that we were taking the equipment out adjacent to the rails and moving it over to the MIC, but if you could elaborate, that'd be great.
So that was in regards to your control room and how you migrate to the new system. So where you're doing the migration, you'll have to be operating the existing railway and you'll need to migrate to the new. So that was associated to how you ensure that you've got the space to be able to put the new system whilst you're still migrating from the old. We had to do that in a number of our control centers, and we had to have quite a detailed migration strategy that allowed for that, particularly during that migration phase as you're doing all of the testing and proving before you enter the new system. Mateus?
Yeah, I agree. And it was also our understanding from talking to the project team that you're aware of this. So it was just to stress that, okay, this is one of the areas where you often on these conversion projects see that it becomes difficult because the original equipment rooms were not built to have two sets of equipment alongside each other. So it's a project. It's a specific to that particular project. Each project needs to develop some kind of good ideas on how to do that. And there could be adjacent rooms where they could build some are building huts on the surface. So there are many different solutions, but the recommendation is just to tackle this as early as possible.
Perfect. Last question for me, and I'll just say, this is really great and productive, and look forward to further dialogue. But you if you think about a spectrum of walk, crawl, run in terms of where we are at and where you guys find yourself today, if you can go back to your earlier days as you started out your journey, are there any kind of lessons learned that you didn't see coming that you think that would be valuable for us to be aware of? Again, it might be already in the report, but if you could maybe accent one or two locations, it would just help for us, because I think we have an incredible team here, which I know you guys probably feel as well after visiting with them. But for us, we weren't able to engage. It'd be great for us as a board to kind of hear of any lessons learned, even that your folks in the exec ranks on the board might have felt should you have a board that oversees the transit agency.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start this one off. So our first transition to transmission-based train control was on the Jubilee line, and that was in 2012. And I would say that was kind of our real first introduction to how you actually introduce a modern signalling system. And we did find that we hadn't planned out the migration and how it would migrate in enough detail. And I think the other thing that we got a bit caught out with in terms of not having enough information in regards to actually how much the system would be out in terms of when the system was being migrated in terms of testing. we learned a lot of lessons from the Jubilee line. I think I've even still got that lessons learned report, which I'm happy to share. And then we applied it onto the Northern line. And certainly now, when we're trying to introduce these new systems, we try and do as much testing and improving off of site. So like we even send our operators over to Canada with Hitachi to do testing on rigs before we get the system introduced. And that just means that you can bottom out a lot of issues before they are introduced on the railway. I think the other one was just about making sure you put the time and effort into getting a really robust operational and maintenance concept and involving the operators and maintainers at the right time, because that then pays dividends in terms of then achieving like the vision and making sure that the actual system, the maintenance, the procedures and the people, they all tie up together so that you can achieve what your objectives are. They're some of the key ones from me.
Yeah, and then I'll maybe supplement with something also. So one thing that I'm trying to put myself back some years in my head. So one thing that would be very helpful for us to have known was, okay, everything. So all the technical stuff, and we also talk a lot about the technical stuff, but there's a lot of non-technical stuff going on such a project. There's a lot of change management. There's a lot of effort to think differently for the organization, to plan for that early and to move on that early, and also to price it in, because it's easy to price. It's not easy, but it's more straightforward maybe to remember to price the technical items, but all the other things they actually also do take up a part of the budget. So that's one thing. Another thing is to have also as early as possible try to plan for a very efficient decision structure. So when you go live, or whatever you should call it, when you are in the middle of it, when you are installing and when you are testing and when you are retrofitting and running revenue service at the same time, there will be conflicts, and there will be conflicts, and there will be different opinions in the organizations for the project and for operations and others. So you'd have at night you'd have the installer call and say, okay, they cannot finish until they will have to that time you agreed. Can they extend for 2 hours or can they not? It will cost a lot of efforts if they cannot extend. So you need to be able to have an organization that can take a very quick decisions on these kind of situations, and that's something one would like to have in place as early as possible.
Perfect. I greatly appreciate your guys' time today. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair McAndrew. I think we're the only
You're
thing
welcome.
standing between you and your evening, and I believe Director Weber has our last, followed by Dr. Lowe.
I will try and be efficient. I have one just sort of level setting question, and then I want to follow up on Mr. Rasmussen's point about change management. So I was intrigued. Jill showed a picture of your platform screen doors at the Castrop station and said it was 2015. But my understanding is that station was constructed earlier in the 1990s. So was this a retrofit to
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so Castrop Station had the PSDs installed later in 15, but the station opened in 2007, as far as I remember. So yes, that's a perfect example of the retrofit, and I also like the picture. So.
It was a nice picture too, I agree. So my question is about, I'm assuming, one of the things we haven't talked about is we talked about change to the organization. You just mentioned change management, how the organization has to adapt, the technical requirements, the training, the equipment. We haven't talked about the passengers. And so I'm wondering about lessons learned from both of your organizations. You know, Lincoln, you're operating in London, where some of your stations are operating in this faster degree of automation and doors, and some aren't. Mateus, you took a community through a change. So do you have lessons for us in change management for the community that we're serving while we're going through this transition?
So,
do you want to go? You go first.
No, go ahead, Lincoln. Okay.
No, I was going to say, okay. You go.
I go. Okay. Thanks, Lynn. So I think we in Copenhagen, we are maybe not a good example actually of the conversion, because we started our first lines were driverless. So and it was before my time also in the company. So we were at that time thinking about how would the passengers react? Would they board the train? Would they be scared? But it did happen quite smoothly. And I think nowadays, I mean, driverless railways are well known around the world. So I think they are not as new and scary anymore. And we didn't at that time in 2002 see any major difficulties with the passengers. I don't know if that partly maybe answers the question.
And then did you also find training, if you will, or educating your community members about how to board a train once you had doors installed? Was that a significant educational opportunity, or they also adapted easily to that? And then I'm interested in hearing Lincoln's request. Same question.
Yeah. Okay, I'll then just quickly. So they didn't have to be trained particularly for using the PSDs, but we do have we do time to time have some trainings on getting out first, getting in later, and these things, because to have the flow on the stations correct, and the PSDs actually helps a little bit to align people at the right place already before the train arrives. So it makes flow sometimes a bit easier, but we didn't have had any particular training for PSDs.
Yeah, I would say similar with London Underground. When we adopted platform screen doors on the Elizabeth line and also on the Jubilee line, the passengers adapted quite quickly to it. You actually find that certainly at our stations where you've got platform screen doors, people actually queue up to get actually on the train because they know where the train's going to stop. I would say one of the things that needs to be considered, and certainly on the Victoria line where we operate 36 trains per hour, we do have to ensure we've got a number of our platform staff just to ensure that we're making announcements to get the passengers off and on the train so quickly as possible, because it's quite an intense service. So that's one of the things. If you increase your trains per hour, you just need to ensure that people aren't holding doors and the train service is being delayed. But no, they adopted platform screen door environment really quickly, and we didn't have to put in place any particular interventions for passengers.
Great. Thank you, Director Ever. Dr. Lowe.
Thanks. I promise this is my last question, but this is just this is such a special opportunity. Like, thank you, APTA, because like, I don't know if we might have a chance to learn from the experience of others like this. And I was really struck by the description of like sending operators to Canada to train. Like, this is like the best of the industry, to see peers collaborating like this and helping each other learn. I find that inspiring. This is a London specific question. You guys are operating in some in G of A2 and some G of A3 and no 4. What are I think I like intellectually know what the difference between these things are and what the trade-offs are, but I'm interested in the actual kind of practical experience in London of why you've landed on different levels of automation in different places. And are you striving to get to 4? What has the experience been kind of moving up the grades?
So we operate only on the Docklands Light Railway, which is a light railway in GOA3. So that's where we have a train captain. So it's like a roaming person that's on the vehicle. If there's any failures, they can react to that. They also open and close the doors. On a majority of the other lines now, we operate on GOA2, where it's automated and you've got a train operator at the front, but they're just opening and closing doors. And then we've only now got sort of 2 lines which are conventional, and that's the Bakerloo line and the Piccadilly line. We were looking to move to GOA4 on the Piccadilly line, but there was an assessment done a number of years ago, and at that point in time, it wasn't affordable. So at the moment, we're upgrading the Piccadilly line, but we're not operating in GOA4. We are looking at a feasibility to move to GOA3 as part of, GOA2. So a signalling upgrade on the Piccadilly line, but that will be in the future, and that's subject to affordability.
Great. General Manager, I hand it to you.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to make one final comment. One, Brian, thank you. You and I have done peer reviews together. It's a really amazing part of APTA, and it's why we're members of APTA, to have the ability. We've had members of our team go and do peer reviews, and you gain so much from visiting another site, let alone providing value to the organization. We've had a great team here. I want to just really call out Lincoln and Matthias. The other panelists were fantastic, but I think, Matthias, I hear you might even be on vacation today, giving up part of your vacation to do this. It's the best of our industry helping each other. You both have beautiful systems that, that are doing great work. We know members of your team. We hope you enjoyed coming here as well, but just, on behalf of the whole organization, just really thank you. It's a volunteer effort, and for you to come and do this is really meaningful, and we look forward to staying in touch. And I've already kind of committed to your leadership that we're not going to try to poach and steal you immediately after this review. But it's really, really appreciate what you've done, and you're helping us move forward on a really critical program here at Metro. So we'll stay in touch throughout the industry, and just thanks again for all your work.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I'm just trying to process 36 trains in an hour. That's incredible. So thank you, Mr. Afrikansi and Mr. Savelle Rasmussen. We truly appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And with that, I'll turn it back to the team.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Vice Chair Burns. And moving on to the second exciting part of our presentation today, we'll be talking about our platform screen door concept. First, I'd just like to, thank the team for coming together, rather quickly. What we believe, is a very suitable and, appropriate concept design. As Jill will highlight, we're at the very beginning of introducing these concepts specifically to the Commission of Fine Arts and the 2 state historic preservation offices, District of Columbia and Maryland, respectively, to enter, the Section 106 process that we're working through with the FTA. So as we've talked about in the development of the program, core, business elements of what we do, safety, reliability, capacity, and operational efficiency, all tenets of the rail modernization program. And one element that helps us achieve these outcomes as part of the rail modernization program is certainly the platform screen door. As we talked about from a safety perspective, somewhat intuitive. Reliability also, keeping folks and debris off of the roadway, allowing us to operate in GOA4, which adds, significant efficiencies. We did want to share some unfortunate statistics just to highlight, what we believe to be the most important value of the platform screen door, and that is safety. And secondarily, reliability. Unfortunately, this year to date, we've experienced 10 fatalities on our system. And as you can see in years past, from just trespassers, we generally experience about 1 every 3 days. So I'm sure if you've ridden the system for a while, you have experienced delays, due to this event. If you look overall, at delays in our system, between rail cars, signals, and interaction with the public, specifically trespassers, those are, kind of our 3 highest categories, all which we're attempting to address with our rail modernization program. Ms. Cesari?
The Metro has a long legacy of outstanding architecture. We are will always respect the architecture and stay within that legacy that we have inherited and are actively maintaining. As we work to modernize the Red Line, we will respect that architecture as we work through the federal process, as we're continuing to work with the Department of Transportation, the FTA, as well as the historic preservation offices, as we work on the design specifically for the platform doors that will be installed in the stations. So key aspects of respecting the architecture is the environmental policies that we must review and adhere to. And so we know that the platform doors are a key aspect of this design and will be the most significant change in the stations as part of this modernization. And so this really, the two specific areas are the National Environmental Policy Act, Section 106, which really talks about historic preservation, as well as Section 4F, which is part of the DOT's requirements. And so we also have longstanding relationships with the Commission of Fine Arts, as well as the National Capital Planning Commission, since we are in the nation's capital core area. And so we have ongoing, enduring conversations with them now as we prepare to mature this concept design. So based on all of that, we expect the platform doors will be the focus of effort as we work our way through the environmental and historic requirements. And so we are very much respecting the legacy of architecture as we also work to move into the future with a modern design. And so as discussed quite elegantly by our APTA peer reviewers, what their systems look like, what other systems look like, and what they're utilizing. So Lincoln mentioned the Elizabeth line. It's to be noted that they use full screens all the way to their overheads. That is not part of our plan. In Paris, they use doors that are approximately 8 feet tall, but the tracks themselves are open for ventilation and airflow throughout their station. And Sydney is closer to what we are proposing for our design, which is partial height doors around 5.5 feet. In general, 1.2 meters is what's commercially available for retrofitting stations. And so there's a lot of terminology around platform screen doors. Generally, platform screen doors mean they go all the way to the overhead. Again, that is not our intention based on our architecture. And so then there's platform edge doors, which are often taller but allows the railway to stay open. And then the partial height doors are really designed for retrofitting existing stations. And that is where the DC Metro is focused. And so in context to our stations, you know, a 6 foot tall customer experiences the fare gates today are 4 feet 7 inches tall, and then the doors themselves on the 7,000 and 8,000 series cars are 6 feet 6 inches. And so the fare gate, the partial height doors would come in between those two heights around 5 feet 7 inches. Today, this is our existing stations, and there's 3 primary functions. I want to highlight the tactile warning, the truncated domes that people see, you know, right before you get to the edge, and then the visual contrast that comes from the granite edge, obviously a different color than the majority of the tiling in the station. And then there's also train arrival indications in the circular lights that are embedded within the granite edge. And then in the future, as we work towards installing and utilizing these platform doors, this is a rendering showing how those 3 functions remain in place, but in a different way. So the tactile warning we're proposing in our initial design that there's minimal warning strip, and it would be closer aligned to the entry of the doors, through the doors. That would aid our customers in finding and making sure they know where to queue up. And then but I'm also making sure people are aware that once you install platform doors, the American Disability Act, as well as the National Fire Protection Act, no longer require truncated tiles because the platform doors themselves provide that guidance and serve those functions. And then the visual contrast is provided by the doors, the framing, et cetera. So there's a visual cue of where the platform edge is beyond those doors. And then the train arrival indication moving from the floor in those circular lights and would be alongside the entrance of the doors, where you can see those long white strips indicated in this rendering. And so this is just I'm showing here a depiction of what the average platform looks like. There's significant support under the majority of the platform, but the edge itself is actually open. And so this is also demonstrating the expected placement of platform doors. Is at the edge, but there's still enough room that when the train comes to the platform, that the train would never strike the doors themselves and harm the structure. And so the placement of the doors is critical. It provides a close enough connection that there would not be entrapment, but also far enough away to ensure that there's safe distance from the train itself. And this is just a demonstration. It was brought up earlier that we were showing a depiction of what Copenhagen currently uses for wayfinding. It's a wing design. Hong Kong is using arrows to give guidance on queuing, and as well as the Seoul Metro, they've actually embedded their indicators within the truncated tiles. So all of these are options. We're considering all of them, but that is for a later phase of design. But yes, we are thinking about it. We're considering it. We're looking at the best of designs around the world as we move through the initial stages of our conceptual design of having platform doors. And so here's another rendering of an inside platform of what it could look like with the doors installed. You can see the lighting at the pan on either side of where the door openings is. We have intentionally chosen a frameless design in order to allow the architecture in general to be illuminated and remain as is. And then the function of the lights, again, on either side of the door, as the design matures, those lights will blink and indicate that the train is inbound, and then while the train is at the station, and then before the departure of the train, the lights can be blinking again. There's many options, and we're working through those, but this is a good indication of where we are in our design. The next is an outside station to give another depiction of what the doors will look like once installed. Same functions and features with the truncated tiles, the lighting along the doors, and providing a clear indication of where the platform edge is. And so as the design is going through its evolution, we've been working through the considerations of architecture, structure, station lighting, noise, and airflow. We have ongoing studies and evaluations of those things so we can bring those specific details into our procurement efforts. We are also considering all of our historic requirements that we need to adhere to, as we are actively communicating with the historic preservation organizations now. And I've done one stakeholder engagement with the advisory council, the AAC, last week, I believe. Received great feedback from them. Like I said, we're in conversation with the State Historic Preservation Offices currently, as well as the CFA, as we work towards scheduling a joint meeting to start really getting into the details of the conceptual design. And so lots of stakeholder engagement is occurring with the federal government, with our FTA representatives, and working through the different environmental and historic regulations, as well as I mentioned, talking with the AAC last week, and we will be engaging additional organizations through the Riders Advisory Council. And I mentioned that we are in communication with the CFA as well as the National Capital Planning Commission. And so today we are, working through the CIG project development phase as we work towards entering the process to receive federal dollars, and then we'll work through those stages once we're there. We're very much in the NEPA Section 106 process right now, and we are working towards maturing the conceptual design once we receive more feedback, as well as taking in all of the stakeholder and advisory council type feedback that we've been receiving. And that is the conclusion of my brief. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you so much. We'll open it up for any questions. Director Worth.
Thank you so much for the presentation. You had a slide that showed the different platform screen doors and the different heights. And I think you mentioned that we're considering the partial height doors. Is that mostly to preserve the architectural features, or is it because that's what's more accessible and available and for cost reasons?
Because of the structure of our platforms, and because you've heard some of our peer agencies refer to brownfield. Brownfield means an existing line. And so we are very much retrofitting a existing line. Greenfield is when you build a new line and you come in with a new design for everything. And so the Red Line is 50 years old. Everybody's aware of that. And what we are trying our best to do is adhere to the architecture legacy that we're inheriting, as well as use the existing platform in their condition. And the partial height doors are meant for retrofits. They are, and the height and the size and the structure is very much weight dependent on what the platform can support. And based on our assessment of the existing platforms, partial height doors are the right fit for the Red Line stations.
Great. Dr. Lowe.
This is a comment, not a question. I was really struck by the slide that you showed. Even though I read this deck beforehand, somehow as you were presenting it, the slide that Metro is a system that's built for the future. That's such a powerful statement. And it brings to mind for me that we can't preserve Metro in amber and always try to keep it the same as it was built, because that isn't really true to the spirit of Metro and why Metro was built and how it was designed. We have to innovate and modernize Metro in order to keep that future orientation and that future spirit embodied in the design of the system. I hadn't thought of that until you highlighted that on that slide. The 250 anniversary has been like just a cool occasion to and the 50-year anniversary for Metro has been like seeing the 1K and the 8K together on the mall, for example. It's a fascinating opportunity to reflect on what was cutting edge in the late 1970s and what it will mean for Metro Rail to be cutting edge now in the 21st century.
Any other questions? Director Alcorn.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions. First of all, I guess it was Mr. Off that put the slide out there showing fatalities, injuries, trespasses. I do want to just underscore how important this whole discussion is about moving towards platform screen doors from a safety standpoint. And I also just want to point out as well, for every one of those fatalities, injuries, and probably many of the trespasses, there was a rail operator. at the controls when that happened. So I think it's also important that we understand, frankly, the impact of how we are operating the system today is from a safety, but also on our workforce. So thank you for putting that slide out there. My other question, totally different topic, but Ms. Cesare, you mentioned weight dependent as an issue for these platform doors. I would presume that this might be an opportunity. Vendors may be looking at certain types of advanced materials that would have the strength, the stability, the low weight to be appropriate. Is that likely? I know in other industries like aerospace, there's been a lot of work done to try to light size and strengthen materials like this.
Yes. At the same time, looking at what's available on the market, we're very conscious and aware that we do not want to ask for a bespoke, tailored design. We want to be able to buy from the marketplace and have a competitive bid process. We are looking at, other agencies and what they're installing and what's readily available. Yes, so I think what specific material, I think will come as people put in their proposals, but we're very much aware of what others are using, why they're using it. But again, partial height doors are really designed for existing rail lines versus that new construction all the way to the ceiling. That changes the ventilation system in indoor stations. And so we are very much not trying to change the ventilation system, the fire detection systems, et cetera. So all of those things matter of how the stations themselves function. And so we want to add doors without fundamentally changing every station as we go.
Yeah, that's great. No, thank you. And I appreciate on the, looking at non-specialty configurations, that is important. Let's don't experience the same thing I did with the refrigerator in my house that basically is a weird size and only fits in the cabinetry, like one brand. Let's don't do that. But also, as you look at this, I would encourage also to look at life cycle issues. Clearly the maintenance, clearly, repair issues, and just thinking about all the things. During the peer review, we talked about weather a little bit on the outside stations for the outside. So, let's make sure we do everything to think through all the things that could and likely will happen through the life cycle. So thank you.
All right, no other questions from my colleagues. I will add as well. First of all, thank you for the team for constantly reminding us of how thorough you all are being. And I think that what struck me reading the peer review report was just how comprehensive of the system, looking at the red line, this will impact. And it's an amazing opportunity to look at it from that perspective of, and to Dr. Lowe's point, of the future of it. So without any other further comments, thank you. We stand adjourned for our committee. I will turn the floor over to Director Alcorn for the Safety and Operations Committee meeting.
Okay, great. We have one more committee meeting and one presentation in this committee meeting, and then we're going to take a break, a quick break. But thank you very much, Mrs. Burns. Welcome to today's Safety and Operations Committee meeting. First order of business is to approve the agenda. We have the agenda in front of us for approval. Any objections by members of the committee to the agenda as presented? Seeing none and hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. Now we also have minutes to be approved, minutes from the June 25th meeting. Any objections to the minutes as presented? Okay, seeing none, we will consider those minutes approved as presented. So today we have one update on this committee's agenda. Our Chief Infrastructure Officer, Teresa Impastato, will provide the committee with an overview of Metro's maintenance strategy and long-range planning approach for service adjustments that support critical maintenance and capital investments across the system. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. This briefing
will present our infrastructure maintenance strategy and long-range planning framework. The organizing principle here is optimization, allocating a finite supply of maintenance windows against rising service demand to sustain a safe, reliable system. The maintenance program is bounded by Metro's strategic framework and aligns primarily with service excellence, safe, reliable, and accessible service across all modes. The first section of our presentation addresses our maintenance strategy, or the engineering philosophy that governs our asset management, how we execute that philosophy, and the analytics-driven improvements moving the program from reactive to predictive. The philosophy is timely, schedule-driven asset management that sustains system safety and reliability. The engineering objective is to intervene on a condition and schedule-based cadence rather than at failure, shifting the program from reactive to proactive and predictive and data-driven. 4 pillars structure the execution: customer-focused outcomes, proactive and predictive maintenance, continuous improvement, and transformation and innovation. Execution is prioritized by safety and reliability impact. Under customer-focused outcomes, resources target the dominant delay drivers while improving wrench time productivity. Continuous improvement strengthens our coordination through revenue service adjustment planning, or RSA planning, and a maintenance center of excellence, including a redefined and advanced maintenance operations center and an integrated wayside renewal process. Decision-making shifts to become increasingly quantitative. A common prioritization framework and shared performance dashboards will allocate our resources by marginal reliability value. And lastly, transformation and innovation applies predictive failure analytics and new materials to intercept defects before failure. The Maintenance Operations Center redesign is the anchor continuous improvement initiative currently underway within the infrastructure organization. A centralized data-driven command function would provide real-time asset health monitoring, maintenance direction, and coordination with our colleagues in operations to ensure continued service and to shorten the window for restoration of disrupted service. The current state of our Maintenance Operations Center is diagnostically reactive. The target state will deliver system-wide condition visibility, end-to-end coordination, specialized expertise, and further deep integration with planning and analytics, essentially shifting our operating model from repair to failure prevention. The next section of this presentation addresses our long-range planning, why outage scheduling is a constrained optimization problem, and how rising weekend ridership compresses the available work windows, and how our outages are sequenced line by line over the coming years. Outage scheduling at Metro is a constrained optimization, not a simple calendar choice. The constraint set includes operational requirements such as track out of service dependencies, weather, and safety windows. Additionally, customer impact across multiple corridors and fixed regional events such as the America 250th, the 4th of July, the Cherry Blossom Festivals, and celebrations such as Pride Festivals and events like the NFL Draft. No window in Metro's scheduling process is entirely unconstrained. Therefore, the engineering strategy is to maximize work throughput per unit of customer impact by consolidating multiple activities into each closure and aligning them with our capital and modernization program. This incredibly visually complicated slide illustrates how our available work capacity is contracting year over year. Work-free weekends, meaning normal service with no shutdown or single tracking, have increased roughly 30% since 2023. Overlaying events and holidays, we further reduced the feasible set of weekend outages, really leaving only 31 outage-eligible weekends in fiscal year 2027. This trend directly reduces the supply side of our maintenance optimization. The driver of the contraction in available weekends is demand-side growth. Average weekend ridership rose from approximately 350,000 in fiscal year 2023
to $538,000 in fiscal year 2026, exceeding 50% over 3 years, while the work-free weekend share rose from 40 to 70%. So this chart shows our Saturday and Sunday ridership trending upward with event-driven seasonal peaks. I'd like to emphasize that this is an incredibly positive trend, but our success in increasing service and ridership creates for us a very challenging conundrum to manage. As demand rises and the supply of work window falls, the marginal value of each remaining outage increases, requiring tighter optimization of the service versus maintenance balance. This slide illustrates where Metro is contracting our major maintenance work from 2026 throughout 1 year period into 2027. You'll see we've attempted to balance the distribution of work across the system geographically. I'd like to provide greater detail with regard to the major outages that we have scheduled during the second half of this calendar year. As all of you know, the summer shutdown on our Red Line, an extended shutdown from July to early September, covers work performed on the Bethesda Mezzanine, second entrance, and the Grosvenor platform. The work performed on the Grosvenor platform is state of good repair work, but also enabling work to allow us to retrofit that platform with what we just discussed in a fabulous presentation about our platform screen door efforts. I'm pleased to report that the work is proceeding on time and on budget at this point. This winter, we do have a single tracking effort, U Street to Georgia Avenue, during the December holiday period to address restraining rail removal, which completes the second portion of rail removal in that area. Each of these windows are sized to maximize completed work against service impact, and the duration aims to minimize disruption. We're always working to identify opportunities to enhance execution efficiency. The remaining projects in the presentation are notionally scheduled for completion and subject to final refinement as the calendar of regional events matures and Metro's maintenance conditions and readiness evolve. As part of our iterative process, we will evaluate and finalize precise scheduling and communicate with customers and stakeholders closer to the dates of disruption. The 2027 program is higher in volume and complexity. The West Falls Church yard rehabilitation runs from July through November with no service pattern change for our customers, but this work constrains access to adjacent areas. Therefore, we've taken a different approach and bundled our summer maintenance revitalization to consolidate several projects executed over shorter durations, moving dynamically throughout the system. Quickly, I'd like to provide some grounding visuals that emphasize the need for some of the work that we are intending to perform in the summer of 2027. This visual illustrates the asset condition-driven case for intervention, specifically the interlocking near NOMA installed in 2004 is currently beyond its 15 to 20 year life cycle. Inspections have identified several conditions that require repair, primarily deteriorated switch ties and loose screw spikes. Metro continues to make interim repairs to extend the period of safe operation, but full tie replacement is now required. Furthermore, the site conditions in this area constrain our methodology and require serious coordination with adjacent property owners such as Amtrak. By means of a second exemplar segment between Twinbrook and Shady Grove, we have additional cross-tie deterioration that over time could propagate into track geometry defects that would affect ride quality and require intervention to avoid progression to a safety issue. Our engineering approach to this work will consolidate tie, fastener, and bridge rehabilitation into a single window to minimize the need for repeated disruptions in this area. To summarize the plans for work on each line, our sequencing bundles activities and preempts constraints imposed by larger summer programs akin to those that we've executed in prior years. Planning spans fiscal year 27 and 28. In fiscal year 27, the principal work is Friendship Heights to North Bethesda summer shutdown, weekend shutdown between Rhode Island Avenue and Silver Spring to replace the train control room there, and several weekends of single tracking between Silver Spring and Forest Glen in late spring to address track, switch machine, and traction power rehabilitation. In fiscal year 2028, the work will shift to Union Station and Rhode Island Avenue interlocking ties that I've just reviewed, as well as the Twin Brook and Shady Grove tie and bridge conditions. In 2027 fiscal year includes a weekend shutdown between Foggy Bottom and Pentagon Courthouse for track rehabilitation. 2028, as I've mentioned, centers on West Falls Churchyard rehabilitation and includes a shutdown between King Street and Franconia Springfield for interlocking tie replacement. As a reminder, as I've mentioned before, as a sequencing constraint, access is limited during the yard project. Additionally, fiscal year 2027 comprises the train control room renewal project between Hyattsville Crossing and Greenbelt in September, some track rehabilitation work between Pentagon and LaFont Plaza over the weekends in September, and a single tracking between U Street and Georgia Avenue towards the end of the year in December for the restraining rail renewal. Lastly, the forward pipeline for fiscal year 2029 through 2032 defines Metro's next investment horizon. Reliability and infrastructure work proceeds and includes work to improve reliability of a critical junction, referred to as the D&G junction. Additionally, we'll be performing rehabilitation work on the Rhode Island Avenue platform. Again, similar to the Grosvenor platform, this rehabilitation work will ensure both state of good repair and be part of the enabling series of work packages for our rail modernization portfolio of projects. We'll also be performing work to install a new mezzanine at Ballston, as well as a second entrance, and have several project plans underway for Red Line modernization enabling work. Growth and event-driven work includes the preparation for the RFK Stadium opening, which will include Stadium Armory Station improvements and interlocking rehabilitations at Morgan Boulevard in downtown Largo. Our technology initiatives will enable our CBTC efforts and platform screen door installation. Our planning process is continuous, and our current execution proceeds in parallel with preparation for these next decade investments, ultimately sustaining the balance between service delivery and asset renewal. This concludes the presentation, and I am happy to address any questions or comments the board may have.
All right, very good. Thank you for this presentation. And it's really helpful, I think, for everybody to know what's coming up. And I presume this is also information we're going to be pushing out to our writers. Ignorance is not bliss in this case as a writer, but is that correct? We will be pushing this out?
That is absolutely correct. This is the first step of many. We will be providing continuous updates as the schedule firms and evolves, as we get more clarity on the maturity of the regional event plans and any competing work or challenges that Metro has. We will provide sufficient notice to our customers and stakeholders before any service disruption takes place.
Very good, very good. And I did just have one quick question on the moving towards the revamped maintenance operations center. Can you address just any cost issues associated with that, both in terms of operating and capital?
So in terms of capital investments, what we'd be looking at with the maintenance operations center and shifting towards a center of excellence, that would largely be in our analytical capabilities, our diagnostic capabilities, and our monitoring capabilities as we're performing our existing capital modernization projects. So for example, the rehabilitation or replacement of our escalators and elevators. Those assets come equipped with advanced diagnostic systems that can provide us real-time condition monitoring and inform more proactive interventionary efforts. We will be seeking, as we renew every asset, to have an opportunity to acquire and analyze that data. From a savings perspective, that should help offset the need to run to failure and should save us over the long run in our asset life cycle.
Great. So there'll be a little bit of an upfront investment, but it should actually pay off over time in terms of fewer breakdowns unscheduled.
Indubitably.
Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Questions? Yes, Ms. Weber.
Yeah, just a question to help me understand the long-range maintenance strategy. I'm envisioning this as a continuum. You will never have 100% predictive capability to be proactive, but I think it's a really good goal to move from being, I think the language you used, reactive repairs versus proactive prevention. Where is Metro now on that continuum, and where do you hope to be? Like if you're 80% reactive right now and you want to flip that and be 80% proactive, if you have a sense for where the goal is.
So it varies by asset. Some of our assets are newer and have more advanced diagnostic capabilities. Some of our assets are aged and beyond their life cycle and require a higher level of reactivity. They're difficult to predict once they're at or beyond life cycle. But I think the 80-20 is a fairly accurate summation system-wide, and we do intend to invert that ratio. We will never be fully free of having to be reactive. There are things outside of our control, like weather, like the issues we experienced this week on the Red Line, that will always drive reactive maintenance. But our goal is to avoid having to react to something that could have been predicted. Thank you.
Mr. Flowers.
Yeah. Teresa, thank you so much for this, because I think that this is also important for our customers to realize is that while this may seem monotonous and disruptive to their service, right, in the long term, this allows the system to deliver quality service, right? It's this kind of unsexy state of good repair and staying ahead of maintenance work that allows us to deliver the things that they expect of us. And also, correct me, right, didn't your team also weren't they able to deliver some of the work on some of the projects that we had, like in things like Crystal City early, right? If I'm remembering correctly, right? So if so, right, talk about that, because there's also I think that's a feather in the cap for your group, but also Metro, and saying to our customers, hey, when we do these things, when we have to close facilities, that there is actually the ability for us to deliver projects faster and ahead of schedule.
Yes, so we have made significant investment in our continuous improvement and lessons learned capabilities, and we're able throughout the evolution of a project to leverage that. When we plan our projects, we look at the reasonable case from a schedule duration perspective, knowing that as you execute construction projects, major capital programs, especially on an aged system like Metro, you need to expect the unexpected. You will always come across a scenario that you didn't anticipate for, and we factor that into our planning process. The lessons that we've learned over the past several years have really informed our ability to react with agility when we face either an unexpected condition, or to allow us to enable in real time opportunities to accelerate or expedite the work. In the execution of the work at Crystal City, we worked very closely with our contractor and identified some opportunities to proceed in parallel and change some of the phasing of the work that enabled us to complete the work earlier and give back 2 weekend shutdowns, significantly lowering the level of disruption to the region. We're committed to do that in every opportunity that we can. That's always our goal, is not only to finish on time, our goal is to finish in the most efficient manner possible.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, very good. Actually, Dr. Loeb.
Sorry. That question actually, it sparked a question in my head that I wasn't expecting to have. I live in Friendship Heights, and so I've had a very front row seat to the bus bridge that we're running right now for the Red Line shutdown. And it seems really different to me from bus bridge experiences that I've had in the past. So my sense is that this is probably an area where there's also some learning and continuous process improvement going on. Or is that just because I see it I see it like every single day, and so I'm just like noticing it more.
So we are taking, as part of our continued maturation, we're taking a very proactive approach to how we're managing our outages and our bus schedule and our bus bridge schedules. This is one of the most complicated bus bridges that Metro has implemented, in part just due to the high service demand, the frequency, the congestion in the area, the ability for us to design a bus bridge that meets the needs of our customers in a reliable, consistent manner. As our customers have experienced, we mature over time and get better day after day. It's certainly no secret that on day one, we weren't as great as we are today. And we remain committed to that continuous improvement. Also, I think in tandem with our improvements, we really respect the feedback that we get from our customers that allows them to make improvements to their own personal planning. We take very seriously the feedback that our customer service team receives about how we're communicating and how to communicate effectively so that folks can make the best choices informed by the best information we can give them. So we remain committed to improving it beyond where it stands today.
Thanks.
Okay, great. If there are no other questions, the committee stands adjourned. Now, before we go to our board meeting, we are going to take a very brief 5-minute break. So plan on being back in 5 minutes and we shall return. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. Good afternoon. My name is Joe McAndrew. And while I served in a chair capacity at the last meeting, they tell me it was a special meeting. So I'm honored to be here serving as the chair of the Metro Board. Thank you for joining us here today. It's a privilege to serve as the chair of the board with the colleagues. I appreciate the support and appreciate working with the team, fighting every day for better service for the region. We're going to start today with approval of the agenda. I'd like to consider the agenda approved with 2 changes. I'd add an employee spotlight and remove the RFK items. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as amended. Thank you. Next, we have 5 sets of minutes for approval. The June 25th, 2026 board meeting, the July 9th, 2026 special board meeting, June 24th, 2026 executive session, June 25th, 2026 executive session, and the July 9th, 2026 executive session. I'd like to consider these minutes approved as presented. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Now we'll move on to our employee spotlight. Today we recognize bus operator Vernon Michael Fabio Jr. For going above and beyond for one of our customers. After finding a student's trumpet left behind on his bus, Vernon immediately recognized it belonged to one of the 3 brothers who regularly ride his route. On his day off, he personally delivered the instrument to the student's school. And as it turned out, the student had a school concert that evening and the trumpet was returned just in time for him to be able to perform. Operator Fabio's kindness, initiative, and dedication to our customers embody the very best of Metro. So please join me in thanking him for his outstanding service to the agency. Congratulations. Sorry about that. We'll have Mr. Golish provide some remarks.
I've made these remarks several times over the years, but so this is mostly directed to new board members. About 25 years ago, the General Accounting Standard Board required transit agencies to make a report on their financial underfunding of retirement benefits, pensions, and health insurance, basically. So in 2004, the union met with Richard White to discuss funding of the Transit Employees Retirement Fund. We worked out a new way of funding it, and basically it's been in pretty good shape ever since. But we decided to postpone discussion of retiree health insurance until the next round of negotiations. In 2008, with the new leadership of the union and new leadership of Metro, Mr. Cato had taken over from Richard White. We were not able to reach a resolution, went to arbitration. The arbitrator decided to just eliminate retiree health insurance for those hired after 2010. In the 2012 negotiations, the 2016 negotiations, no real progress was made. In the 2020 negotiations, the union agreed to set up its own fund to provide retiree health insurance, a 1% contribution. Finally, in 2024, Mr. Clark and the union reached an agreement on funding retiree health insurance or providing the benefit for people hired after January 1st, 2020. But there was no plans for funding that. The union turned over about $30 million of money that he had raised itself to provide beginning funding, but there was no long-term funding arrangement. So the problem is that we're providing a benefit for literally thousands of people in the future. And we did a study in 2020 about it, and we found out that the best way to do it is to pre-fund it. In other words, set aside money today, invest it, and then provide the benefit in the future. And that approach, I think, has to be used. And I'm asking the board in the next year and a half, as we prepare for the next round of negotiations, they think about pre-funding retiree health insurance for the next generation of workers at Metro. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. Stuart Schwartz.
Thank you, Chair McAndrew and members of the board. I'm Stuart Schwartz. I'm the Executive Director of the Coalition for Smarter Growth. We're now a 29-year-old organization that has punched above our weight in supporting walkable, mixed-use, transit-oriented communities as the most sustainable and competitive way for this region to grow. Made great progress and appreciate the progress of the entire WMATA team. You really showed your success on July 4th on our 250th. And I think the transit agencies around the country have shown how the value of transit as they handled the World Cup as well. We are here because we certainly support the DMV Moves agreement on $460 million in additional capital funding indexed to inflation. In fact, we'd like to see dedicated funding, more dedicated funding for both capital and operating from all of the jurisdictions, including the federal government. This system is America's subway, but every one of these metro systems are key to our regional economies. We are somewhat disappointed that in my home state of Virginia, they fell a little short, kicked the can down the road. We don't really have a true dedicated solution in Virginia. We know the economies of DC and Maryland and our region are under some stress, but to us that it calls for a fix-it-first approach, which involves repair and modernization of our existing infrastructure, including Metro. The Metro modernization presentation today was super exciting. The preventative maintenance progress is exciting as well. We know we need to do more there as well. The other thing I will talk about, though, is dedicated bus lanes, priority bus lanes. I understand they're working for the shuttle, according to Dr. Lowe, who's tested it out. But we need to move much faster on dedicated bus lanes. There's no reason we can't move fast to convert existing, especially 6-lane arterial roads to have a high priority bus on those corridors, as this region has planned for a long time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stuart. We did not receive any comments in advance, so we'll now hear from the Accessibility Advisory Committee Chair, Patrick Sheehan.
One more.
Hello, Board of Directors. I am off on a little conference, but I really appreciate being able to record this for you today. It makes it a lot easier than trying to do this from, let's say, a hotel room. Talking about several things that we've had happen during the month of June, a little bit in July also. We met with Nikia and the emergency preparedness staff at towards the end of June and had an excellent brief with them for about 2 or 3 hours at the emergency preparedness training facility, in which we got a chance to see how they prepare and train individuals to work with trains that are and had issues with them. We didn't have any smoke coming out or anything like that this time, but we did learn a lot about the procedures and thought that that was, really important. We had some questions from our group. I think there are 12 of us there on wheelchair access for individuals who are low vision and blind, working to increase access for individuals who are deaf and how those communication facilities would work. So I think this is the beginning of a really good relationship with Nakia and her team. The team was extremely responsive. They took us through different aspects of the training, different aspects of what the systems look like, and even areas where we could see how the tracks were set up, and those things that a lot of the committee had never looked at. What I like about this, as opposed to what we had done before, is that we could engage those folks in conversations. So I think areas that deal with communication, information, and certainly folks with disabilities that haven't been addressed is something that the committee will be able to provide this group, and we look for an ongoing relationship with them, and they're going to let us see some of the material that we can review for accuracy and see where we can increase the communication piece. So very pleased about that. Thank you to her group. We also met with Sarah Myers and her team talking about the signage project. And I would say that that is really good news. We agree on about 90, maybe 95% of the way the signage is going. And we appreciate the fact that they will come and talk to us. They are certainly taking notes on what we're talking about. We give them where we agree, we let them know. Where we disagree, we give them information as to what we think we would prefer from a disability point of view. But the information and the meetings are very, very informative, very cordial, very professional. So thank you for that. And we did sneak down to the mall last month to look at the 1K and the 8K trains. We have a whole lot of recommendation, a whole lot of input, I'd say, on the 8K trains that we will be able to share, I think, in September. And a lot of it's positive. I myself like the 1K train. I hadn't seen that train in ages. So it's been a good, effective month. Let's see. In other areas, we have made good progress, I think, with on the Metro Access front. We are still working with some of the automation features with Tim, our thinking machine, working with Mr. Blake and his staff on that. Those recommendations will be coming forward. And I think that we will be pleased with the way the improvements are coming with that Tim machine. With respect to buses and bus and rail, we haven't had any issues there at all. As we said before, we worked with Prince George's County. They gave us an excellent report moving forward. So we are pleased with that. And we plan to be working, I think, if I can get my leadership staff to meet in August with our work plan so we can start on projects that are going forward through the month of September all the way through, my goodness, I guess we're looking at 27 coming up as we have it moving forward now. So we look forward to a great year. I think we had a good 26. Appreciate all your assistance on that, and we'll move forward in 27. And I think we will make great progress. So thank you for your support. Appreciate being able to talk with you today, and we appreciate your input going forward. Thank you.
Perfect. Pat, while you might not be live with us, we appreciate the report. I'll also just echo, the positive praise for the team and the collaborative spirit there, which is great to hear. We did have one oversight. We missed Mr. Orleans in public comment, so we'll go back to him before we keep on moving along with the Writers Advisory Council.
I appreciate being overlooked by you, Mr. McAndrew. That's fine. Very quickly, 2 weeks ago, I was standing on the corner of Independence in New Jersey waiting for the old 30th line, now the D10 line. And after 35 minutes and it not coming, I called customer information, was told that I gave the customer information agent the stop sign number and was told that stop didn't exist. I asked to speak to a supervisor, was told there was none. I don't know. I eventually spoke with another person, and she confirmed what I had been told initially, that the D10 does not stop there. I was told to walk three and a half blocks to where I could catch the D10. As it happens, coming out of the House office buildings, I was bearing about 60 pounds of weight on my back and my shoulder, and I did not feel like walking to catch the bus when the same amount of time I could walk to Union Station, which I ultimately did and caught the red line out of Union Station. My question is this: I don't know whether the D10 stops there or not, but the sign is there. The D10 should stop there. That's a traditional bus stop, heavily used. But if it's not stopping there, the sign should be removed. All of you will be familiar with the old axiom about putting a bus stop outside a senior residence center, because the senior residents wandering away will see the bus stop and they'll sit and they'll wait for the bus, which of course will never come. But this is the opposite. If the bus is never coming, the sign should be removed. However, the D10 should stop there. Implementation of the DMV MOVE goals, approved goals, are proceeding apace. This agency staff, TPP staff, other regional staffs are meeting behind closed doors. There's no opportunity for the public, at least to observe and hear what's being said. That should change. Lastly, I wasn't planning on speaking today until I saw in the consent number F, authorization to execute a cooperative agreement with the Department of War. Those of you who are federally appointed, please inform me. Statutorily, it's still the Department of Defense. The resolution refers to the Department of Defense, but colloquially you're including reference to the Department of War. The Department of War does not exist statutorily. We should not abide by the whims of the Secretary and the President in referring to it as the Department of War. It does not exist. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orleans. Next, we're going to go ahead and hear from the Writers Advisory Council Chair, William Way, who's joining us online here today. Welcome, William.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Mr. Chair, look forward to working under your leadership. Also wanted to update you on our work for this month, as well as our outreach and work plans. This month, Metro briefed us as well on the wayfinding project to provide better signage at lower cost. Also want to thank Alternate Director Worth for joining us at the RAC meeting. We also had a chance to go and take a look at the bus bridge shuttle service and bus-only lanes on day 2 of the Red Line construction. As far as outreach, we are focused on reaching both individual riders as well as grassroots transit enthusiasts, groups across Metro's tri-state service area, in order to get riders' views in accordance with our charter and to better inform our advice to the board. So in conclusion, we look forward to providing you with our work plan for your review and concurrence, and thank you for this opportunity to share our views.
Thank you, William. Any questions for him or the RAC? Hearing none, thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate the partnership.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yep. That concludes our advisory body reports. Next is the chair's report. I'll just keep it relatively brief and just again say it's a privilege to assume the role of the chair here at WMATA at this important time. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve alongside this group of esteemed colleagues as we work and row in the same direction for the benefit of the authority and the region. I want to put a spotlight on a recent delegation trip to Detroit. A few of our board member colleagues joined the Board Affairs Office, a few Board Affair officers, to the APTA Transit Board Administrators Board Members Conference. And aside from a great learning experience, I had joined the trip last year. This year at the board, our own Chief Board Affairs Officer, Jennifer Ellison, who's sitting to my left, was elected chair of the Transit Board Administrators Subcommittee at APTA. And Jose Reyes was also elected secretary of the subcommittee as well. We get the great benefit of working with tens of thousands of colleagues every day with the board, but these individuals we oftentimes work very, very closely with, and they keep us on schedule and moving in the right direction for the benefit of the authority. So thank you very much and congratulations. Yep. Finally, I'll wrap up with appointments to the Accessibility Advisory Committee. I'd like to move approval of the following AAC appointments. We're reappointing Rico Dancy from the District of Columbia, appointing Catherine Dallimore from the District of Columbia, appointing Noor Pervez from the State of Maryland, appointing Hawaii Abbey from the Commonwealth of Virginia, and reappointing Sandy Newsill from the Commonwealth of Virginia. All of these appointments would expire on June 30th, 2030. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dr. Lowe. Is there any discussion?
Just one note. This should be a living warning to everyone that if you come testify at the public comment of a Metro board meeting, the reward might be more work.
Thank you, Dr. Lowe. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. This concludes my report. And next, I'll go ahead and hand it over to our GM and CEO for his report. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and again, congratulations for your first formal full meeting. Look at the amount of media here has come to see you today. It's very good. Yeah, exactly. We will not discuss anything else, which is that. But yeah, congratulations, and look forward to having a really wrap up this really good meeting. A couple things I want to highlight. First, I want to highlight safety security. It's our core value here at Metro. It's the thing we talk about. Really want to highlight the great work that our staff has done. Transit police, operations, our video unit, our regional partners, federal partners, local jurisdictions. We are now down 12% year to date as closed out for the fiscal year as we were last year. And that's incredible considering last year was our record low. So we've now set a new historic record low at Metro for crime on this system. So I take the system every day. Many of our board members take the system every day. Our staff, you know, from time to time there might be something out there, but it is a really safe system, and we encourage people to use the system. Let us know how we continually improve, but really impressed by these results. And you could see where we were at FY23, and that drop shows you, I think, the confidence that our community has in writing the system. So just great job, and I want to really highlight that. Next up, I want to highlight, we talked a little bit, conversation there about our Red Line Summer construction. I want to highlight the shuttle component. This might turn out to be our highest ridership shuttle we ever do. I'm not sure that's a great thing, Mr. Chair, but it is a thing that this team has put an enormous amount of work in. And I just really want to thank our customers for their patience. Day one was not great. Day two was better. By day 3, 4, it's been working well, but the team has done an exceptional job. So Miss Bell and her team on the bus side specifically, great customer communication, all of our ambassadors and our what we call MIPS out there. You know, we've had high heat, and this week we had some red line issues that then compounded at Friendship Heights into the bus shuttle, and they handled it professionally, with grace, with empathy for our customers. And I've even heard that we've got some compliments from a member of Congress that takes the shuttle. So I think people that take it all the time know that we're working really hard. And every day that has passed is one less day of the shuttle. And we look forward, Teresa's team's really running the projects hard to be, again, on schedule, on budget, to make sure the shuttle wraps up with everybody. So just want to highlight that. Next up, because we will not have a board meeting in August, I want to highlight the Freedom 250 Grand Prix. Transit has been on a tear in America in the last month. Between the World Cup, All-Star Games, America 250th, the biggest July 4th in the history of Metro, kind of the big end of the America 250 piece in many ways here is the Grand Prix that we'll be hosting here in the National Capital. It's going to be a very unique, very family-friendly kind of event. We expect a very, very busy weekend here at Metro. There's going to be significant bus detours starting on August 1st. We're going to have a lot of information out on that. As you'll see, we have a lot of stations surrounding the course. We expect Friday night to be a little busy, all day Saturday to be very busy, and all day Sunday for the race to be very busy. I think they're looking at 100 to 130,000 tickets for just the ticketed areas, plus obviously the surrounding areas. So we will have no, this is August 21, 22. Yeah, so 20th, 21, 22. But early August is when a lot of the detour and other things are going to start, I think, in earnest. So we also have a very unique Smart Trip card. It's something we do really well here. It's part of our legacy and heritage is these Smart Trip cards. And so even if we go digital, people still love these. And this one, I think, is going to be in high demand, and we're going to have it at our stations around the course. So again, we weren't here in August, but I wanted to really push this out and talk about how we're going to be providing more information. But we're very prepared. We've been working very close with Park Police, National Park Service, the organizers for the event, MPD, all of our federal partners. It has not been designated a national special security event yet, but if it is, we'll be ready for that. I think we've had 8 in the last year, and we'll be ready for number 9. Last 2 things I want to highlight were ridership. Again, end of year. So we had about 270 million trips on Metro for the fiscal year, which is just, really, really strong year. We went through the performance report before. I won't mention that, but really great to see so many people using this system. And again, it's not that long ago that these numbers were where we dreamed to get back to, and this year is doing really well. Yesterday, we had just under 950,000 trips. For mid-July, we had close to 600,000 on about 585 on rail, which for middle of the summer is an incredible busy period. So we're really expecting to have a great fiscal year ahead for ridership. And lastly, one of our priority programs that we try to consistently talk to the board about is ERP. And just wanted to highlight that our ERP, our whole kind of first planning module went into effect to start the fiscal year. An incredibly hard cutover, something that desperately needed to get done, move from our antiquated systems. But this is really about our personnel and human capital modules and payroll. And so when you have 13,000 people on payroll, it obviously is challenging to make sure all this works. But little few things here and there, but generally very good. Got the program really on pace. The last year, we've really recovered this program very successfully. And now we're on to the next piece, which is our grant and kind of overall the larger financial module that is working. Just take a moment to really thank Sherry for her leadership. She has done a really, really great job on the human capital module and her team with testing. Unfortunately, that piece really resulted in almost a 3 to 4 month general hiring freeze across the organization outside of bus operators and some critical rotational positions. So now poor Sherry's team is now getting the list of here are all the priorities and we got to get hiring. But I really want to recognize the human capital team. Dave, who's on vacation, and the financial team have just done a great job. Tom before that in his role helped as well. And then Linda and Terrence on the digital modernization team getting this through. And of course, all of their teams throughout it. Many people in those areas have been acting like they work in operations for the last 4 or 5 months. And that's not a thing that most people want, by the way, just for clarity. But they've worked really, really hard to get us to a good spot. And I just really want to highlight, as I know the board, this is one of our priority programs to highlight. So with that, Mr. Chair, that's our update. Lastly, I guess I'll take that quick moment to highlight that on the red line this week, we obviously had a couple days of not great service. We had one clip issue that got resolved within about 2 hours. That probably wouldn't have been a big deal by itself, but combined with a DC water pipe break, as I think it was an 8 or 9 inch pipe broke, subsurface around Van Ness, it completely flooded one of our train control rooms. Those train control rooms have about 50-year-old equipment, give or take, in it. Many of the board members have been out seeing that old circuitry. Teresa's team and Mike Haas in the signaling department, facilities as well, but they did an incredible job. So multiple nights, they literally put all the equipment apart, these 40, 50-year-old electronic equipments, dried them out, bench tested them, got out, figured out all the circuits and modules that would work, and got service back to full normal this morning, and it's running really well. Yesterday, we got a little bit better with a couple things by PM, but this was a pretty serious impact, and when it all happened at the same time, it was during PM rush hour, and you add that to the bus shuttle. No one had a good experience on the red line, basically between Metro Center and Friendship Heights, let alone all the way to Shady Grove. So there's people that work on the senior staff that had, let's just say, bad experiences themselves. I'm a Red Line customer. I didn't have a great experience. So just some empathy to our customers. But, I think the team, I'm just going to give a lot of kudos. The amount of work the team has done over the last 2 days to, quite frankly, we thought we might have lost that room for a long period of time. And they did incredible work. And then shout out to Christy as well, the customer communication stuff all night long, all during the day to make sure we could be as transparent as possible with what's happening. So trying to mitigate these problems. Sometimes, unfortunately, a water main subsurface will break, not a metro pipe, but we have some areas we could still learn about incident management that we're working on. But I think overall, the team did a really good job of responding to kind of a crisis situation. So just want to recognize our Red Line customers went through a pretty bit of a challenging day or two there. With that, Mr. Chair, happy to take any questions, thoughts, or move on.
Thank you. Any questions for the GM? Yes, Dr. Lowe.
Regarding the last topic, of course, water mains do break, but really though, is someone looking into that part? Has the pipe been repaired, and is someone looking into why it broke?
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a best. So one, it's not that's a DC.
Yeah, I know.
So
but is someone looking into it?
Well, yeah, I assume DC Water. Well, our team coordinates with DC Water incredibly closely all the time. But I mean, there'd be hundreds and hundreds of miles of these pipes all over the city, let alone outside of the city. So I would think they have water main breaks in the city every single day. And they have aging equipment as well, aging pipes. I'm not sure the age of this pipe, but I'm sure it's older than the train control room equipment, I would think. So I can't speak to their inspection process or their kind of, maintenance improvement program. But as a utility, they would have that. I would say just some of these things are just old and quite frankly, bad luck. If it had broke in a different spot, our train control room probably would not have been flooded. So, we work very closely with DC Water, though, Pepco, Dominion, all of our utility partners, and just some really bad luck of where it happened at the time. And hopefully they'll continue to make sure their equipment, or in this case, their infrastructure, is in really good state of good repair and doesn't have those issues.
Thank you. We are one day closer to reopening the Red Line and doing away with those shuttles. Any other questions for the GM? No. Thank you for the report. We're going to now move on to consent items. We have 6 items on our consent agenda today. I'd like to move approval of the following items referred to the board. First, the Alexandria Student Transit Subsidy Program. This authorization for the GM and CEO or his designee to execute a reimbursable funding agreement with the City of Alexandria in support of their student transit subsidy program. Number 2, bus transfer agreement with Fairfax County. This authorizes to purchase and transfer approximately 17 hybrid electric buses to Fairfax County. These vehicles are funded in part using proceeds from an FTA discretionary grant under the Low No Emission Vehicles Program. Number 3, the FY 27 through 28 Virginia State Operating Funding Grant Agreement. It approves approval to negotiate and execute the annual operating funding agreement between Metro and the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation, substantially as shown in the materials provided for this meeting. Number 4, the Shady Grove Access Road Conveyance. This authorizes WMATA to convey the East Side Metro Access Road between Shady Grove Road and Reland Road to Montgomery County. This will allow for redevelopment in the vicinity of the Shady Grove Metro Station. Number 5, Metro Training Center public hearing. We're going to authorize a public hearing to amend the mass transit plan for the construction of the Metro training facility on Metro-owned land in Landover, Maryland. The site was previously authorized to host Metro's heavy rail or heavy repair overhaul facility. And number 6, a cooperative agreement for Metro Bus Route A90 service. This authorizes the GM and CEO or his designee to negotiate and execute a reimbursable cooperative agreement with the Department of War for the Metro Bus Route A90, providing express service between the Pentagon and the Mark Center Transit Center. Can I get a second? Seconded by Mr. Alcorn. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to the reports by the jurisdiction. First up, WSTC in Maryland.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Couple of notes, and then I know everybody's eager to get out. In Prince George's County, the bus is currently running its annual school supply drive until August 14th. You can certainly drop it off in Largo at 9400 Peppercorn Place. But anyone who's in the jurisdiction and is doing your regular shopping, if you have an opportunity to pick up your extra school supplies and then help stuff the bus, that would be appreciated. I'd have to look at the dates, but I know Maryland also has tax-free days coming up, also a great opportunity to pick up school supplies. The general manager mentioned the red line shutdown, and in Montgomery County, everyone really appreciates the partnerships between WMATA, Ride On, Mark, Capital Bike Share, everyone really working together to try and make sure that our residents have those opportunities to continue to get around. If you're not aware, for those on the north end of the county, there is a Glenmont Express shuttle serving Milestones Park and Ride Lot, the Shady Grove Metro Station, and then over to Glenmont, helping to avoid that. And so you can take the east side of the red line. Mark is offering half-price fares for those who are within the service area, so from Rockville, Garrett Park, and Kensington, and great opportunity to try bike share. So please consider all of these alternatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Weber. Next, we'll go to NVTC. Are there any updates?
No updates, just happy August, everybody.
Perfect. Next up, we'll go to the district. Any updates?
Yeah, just one thing to encourage everyone to think about. Our region is done with primaries, and so everyone may think that thinking about elections is over. But I'd just like to remind everyone that advisory neighborhood commissioner seats in the district are a nonpartisan role that will be on the ballot in November. This is a wonderful opportunity to think about getting involved in your community for district residents.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to the federal government. Any updates?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to really add emphasis to two items that the GM talks about in his report. The great progress that we have made on safety and security, particularly on the historic lows in crime, right? As we all know, that this has been a priority of the Department of Transportation and particularly Secretary Duffy around the safety and security of customers and using all major transit systems in the country. And I'm very excited that Metro's leading the way here in doing our part to offer the customer experience that all of our customers, whether they be area residents or our visitors, deserve and should expect. And then lastly, just encouraging the rest of the public, right, to continue to celebrate America 250 with the Grand Prix as we kind of blow out the final candle on America's birthday. And I hope that then all who come to enjoy the festivities will use the system, right, and experience that good customer service that we can provide. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you, Director Flowers. And with no further business to come before the board today and possibly until September, we stand adjourned. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope that everybody has a great summer. I'll now request the board convene an executive session. In accordance with the bylaws, I, Joe McAndrew, request that the Board of Directors convene an executive session to discuss the following matters pursuant to Article 2, Paragraph 9, subsections A, budgetary matters that may affect legal positions, WMATA contracts, or sensitive relationships with local jurisdictions or the federal government, and C, personnel or labor issues, including discussions of labor contracts and labor negotiations, consideration or interviews or candidates for employment, and the assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, or resignation of individuals. Can I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Director Burns. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. Have a good summer.